Welcome back, everybody, to Two Guys and a Stack of Comics. My name is Reed. Who is with me, as always, is Mike. Mike, today we get to do something really fun for you. I mean, we get to highlight a comic book series that isn't being talked about enough. A comic both of us are really, really enjoying from a publisher that, honestly, you and I did not have any experience with. I don't believe in all our years of buying comics, had not really seen anything from it. And we're going to talk today about Flash Gordon, the Madcave comic series that we both have really been enjoying so far. It's
Yep.
interesting in that Flash is such a rich history as a character. He's one of these characters kind of like Zorro or the Phantom or the Shadow, where really rich history at one point was a huge character. And I'd say what maybe the last 30 years or so has really kind of fallen into the background of being one of those like nostalgic heroes for folks. And so really cool to see Mad Cave give a shot at it. You and I were both kind of invested. I don't know if people can see here. They had the free comic book day issue from
Oh
Jeremy
yeah.
Adams and Will Conrad. We loved this. This was brilliant marketing by them. It was a full 20-page story with the main creative team. Really kind of got you and me excited
There it
about
is.
possibly reading the book. You kind of have it there.
There
And
it
that
is.
from there, it kind of started what we were looking at. So, Mike, I know you were the bigger Flash Gordon fan than I am. I know for you, because of his association with the Flash name, you, when you were searching for your back issues, if you couldn't find the Flash comics you were looking for, would just kind of stop with the Flash Gordon era. But
Right.
what are you loving about the series? What's your history with Flash Gordon? How's this series hitting you, sir?
Oh man, I love this series, Mad Cave comics. It makes you wonder, like, what else are they doing? You got Jeremy Adams as the writer, and we have Will Conrad, who's doing the amazing artwork on the book, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, Flash Gordon, such an iconic character. He was he was a comic strip that would come out free in the Sunday edition and the dailies of everybody's newspaper in the 1930s and 1940s. Huge, huge success with that, and you would come across a lot of comics as a kid. I would come across these when I couldn't find Flash. Right next to Flash comics was another Flash, and so I would pick them up, like iconic comics. Even in the 80s, they had Flash Gordon. Whitman was doing it, but it was King Features Syndicate that did it, and they had a really successful run in the 60s. King Comics did Flash Gordon and had the amazing Al Williamson uh, drawing it then, and some covers were by Gil Kane, with
Mm-hmm.
the um,
Well, wasn't the notorious, right? Bob Kane allegedly it was kind of the Detective 27 comic is seen pretty much as a swipe of a Flash Gordon panel. Is what it's kind
right,
of been seen by a lot of folks for sure.
right. In one of the dailies, that iconic pose of Batman was stolen earlier uh, from the dailies, the Flash Gordon dailies. So anyway, I'm a big fan of Flash Gordon, and it's so great to see Mad Cave put him out and do such a good job. Like, this is issue 3. They're up to issue 4 now, anxiously awaiting the arrival of Dale Arden in the story. It's a great story. I mean, and Jeremy Adams is writing it. I don't know if he's a big Flash Gordon fan or not, but he's certainly writing it like he's a big Flash Gordon fan. And look at the art on some of these panels, you guys. I mean, Will Conrad is just really bringing it, and you can tell, like, some of these indie publishers, they're really doing a good job. And I know you want to talk a little bit about it, about marrying a good writer with a good artist. Here's a little bit of action, Flash fighting these Tyrannosaurus Rex looking aliens, right? Which
Yeah.
also Flash has a history of doing. This is a famous Gold Key cover from the 60s. But just fun escapism, right? Flash is the hero, bar none. There's no backpedaling like something dark happened in his past. No, he's just always a good guy. and he's going to save the universe, right? Because that's what Flash Gordon does.
Yeah, I think what's so much fun about this is like I don't really have much of a tether to Flash Gordon as a character. I know him from pop culture and what is it, the 80s movie or maybe late 70s film that kind of came out, the very sort of
Right?
campy film that was out there. What I've loved about the comic book, I think we live in an era right now where everybody's obsessed with deconstruction, obsessed with breaking these characters down. They were showing, oh, they were never the hero that you thought, that kind of thing, because I think they think it adds gravitas or something to it. We've seen Luke Skywalker broken, Han Solo, Picard, Indiana Jones, where they do these things where they revisit the character. And it's basically just an excuse to show that the character is a broke down kind of failure. And what I like about this is, like you said, Jeremy Adams just approaches it like, no, Flash Gordon is just awesome. You're going
Yeah,
to like him because he's the main character of the comic book. We're going to make him charismatic. We're going to make him strong. We're going to make him brave. He is a hero because he's a hero. And I
right.
think one of the things they do great in this, the panels you're showing where he's like fighting these dinosaur aliens, you
Yeah,
get gladiatorial battles. You have a great couple issues where him and Ming, who hate each other, have to work together.
yeah,
Um,
that was brilliant from
all
Jeremy.
kinds of sci-fi space action, space battles. I mean, there's just so much going on with it. And what's so much fun about the comic book is it reminds me of what science fiction and old school comic book storytelling used to be, where they knew, hey, you're sitting at home, you're probably, we're both here in the winter in in Texas, right? It's getting colder, it's getting rainy, it's getting whatever, work's busy, all this stuff going on. It's great to pick up a comic book and you just disappear into these pages for a little bit and have
Yeah,
an adventure in space where you just follow this likable, charismatic hero. I think one of the things that's great with this is, you talked a little bit about marrying an artist and a writer. Will Conrad, to me, he would not be a good artist for like Conan. He would not be a good artist for Thor or something like that. But when you put him with Flash Gordon, he's great at drawing these larger than life, bombastic action scenes with these crazy looking aliens. He just brings
perfect.
so much color and vibrancy to it. And it really works so well as you're watching and that or if you're reading because you do feel kind of like you're in a big budget movie. That's the
Yeah,
coolest thing for me reading this is it kind of feels like you get a little piece of a big budget movie going forward every week where it's just a fun escapist adventure kind of story and it's great to see. I think that's something we really like out of Mad Cave because if Marvel got this or DC, this would be the Z tier book
yeah.
with people who weren't really focusing, whereas Mad Cave seems to be really taking this seriously and putting the best talent that they can on it.
And can we just talk? You mentioned the color. Talk about the colorist. Just really good color, and his name is
Lee
Chas.
Luffbridge, I believe, is the colorist. Yeah,
Yeah, Lee Luffbridge, and just does a great job. I mean, and look at the inking. The inking is great. The, I mean, I just can't say enough about it. It's just amazing. Such a fun book to read. And these little teasers at the end of every book, you
for your
know,
next issue, and
yeah, it gives you
no,
a
you
full
get a release
splash page
schedule in the
cover.
back. They kind of post what they're releasing. Mad Cave is also doing, I think, a Defenders was it Defenders of the Earth storyline that they're doing.
Yes.
They're putting out quarterly issues for Flash Gordon that are just kind of fun in the universe type of things. It's just really cool to see a publisher take something like this seriously and have a lot of fun with it.
And you can see the next one is coming out this month, number 5. Hopefully we'll get to see Dale, maybe.
Yeah, that's kind of the interesting thing is this starts off with in the free comic book day issue, you kind of had where Flash failed. It made him
Yeah.
appear that he had failed and a planet was destroyed as a result. And then you kind of pick up a little bit of time later and he's imprisoned and then he breaks out, obviously, and you get kind of some crazy adventures from there. But I think one of the things is Dale Arden, his love interest, the classic kind of female sci-fi love interest that's there. We don't see her in much of the comic. We see her in issue 1. She kind of makes a threat towards Flash. You don't know what's going on. And again, I think brilliant use of storytelling by Jeremy Adams as far as one appearance and Flash is going by this, hey, I'm going to go save her. I'm going to rescue everybody. We have no idea what's going to happen when that encounter happens. And again, it's a great job of building things up. We're still only like issue 4 or 5, but it does build a little bit of drama to it. And I think again, what I just so much appreciate about this comic book is it's very similar to like Conan, which we love so much, in that while I think Conan's a better series, what I like about this is a book written for people who like Flash Gordon. It is not a we're going to break down the character, we need to reinvent him. We don't the dreaded for a modern audience kind of thing
Yeah.
that we see so often, where I think you could pluck down these tales that are here. You could have put these stories into one of those gold key comics or into the daily strips. And obviously the art's a little bit different and stuff like that, but it would have fit right alongside it. And I think that's what we've always loved about Conan, and that's what we like about here, is these feel like things that could have been placed at any point in the Flash Gordon canon, and folks would have fallen in love with it back then too.
Look at this cover for issue 3. It's so good.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's just great. And if folks don't know a little bit of Star Wars trivia, uh, Lucas was a huge comic book fan first and foremost. And when he was thinking about creating his space opera, he went to whoever King Features or whatever and tried to option the rights for Flash Gordon.
Mhm.
And when it was too much money or they turned him down, that's when he said, well, maybe I'll just write my own story. And Star Wars was born. But
Yeah.
that's just kind of a thing. If you're a sci-fi fan, you're gonna love Flash Gordon. You know, they did some cheesy serials in the 40s with him, but and I can't think of the actor's name now, but people loved him. I mean, some of the serials don't hold up, time wise right
Mhm.
now, but man, when Dino De Laurentiis did that movie in the 80s and Queen did that iconic soundtrack, I mean, the legend was reborn again. And but I always loved Flash Gordon. Who doesn't love a guy with a laser gun fighting dinosaurs? I mean, it just or
Yeah.
even dinosaurs with a sword, or who doesn't have like a great gal by his side, or you know, there's him and Zarkov. There's a great Al Williamson cover. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, no. I mean,
You
there's so
know,
much classic material with the character for sure.
um,
And I think what I like about the Flash Gordon story so far, am I going to sit here and say this is some story that people are going to read and it's going to be like, oh, this is like the greatest comic I've ever read? No. But I think what we're struggling with in comic books right now is we have a lot of modern writers who fail to want to just do fun stories. They feel like, I think, in a lot of sense of, I don't want to just write a Batman comic. I want to write something that's socially relevant, or I don't want to just write a Spider-Man comic book. I want something that reinvents and it's like that's not really what we're looking for. What I like about Flash Gordon, what I like about Jeremy Adams, and he did this on Flash, he's done this on Green Lantern. He seems to be a guy who just writes books knowing, hey, you know what? People want to have fun with this. And like Flash Gordon, it's so cool because it's just guy in space with a sword and a laser gun saving a hot girl against evil villains and aliens.
that's
That's
all you
it.
need
You
in a
don't need to
comic,
think
right?
anything. And that's the
Hey,
thing is with storytelling, sometimes you can just do simplistic stuff and we're okay with it.
and I have a feeling that Jeremy and I are like uh, distant cousins or brothers or whatever. Because I have a feel because he did that great run on Flash a few years ago, and then he goes to Flash Gordon, and if I was,
He's right up the alley of reviving and putting together runs for your characters, man, in the
I'm
modern
telling you,
scape.
we're friends that we haven't even met yet. Because if I was a comic book writer, I would write Flash, and then if someone said, "Hey, can you write Flash Gordon?" I'd be like, "Sure, I'll write Flash Gordon too." Yeah, so yeah, just great stuff. I mean, great
It's
escapism, and fun to read. It's well drawn. I give Madcave a home run on this one.
Absolutely. No, great to see some of the smaller publishers doing it. I really hope this leads to a revival of some older characters. I'd love to see a Phantom comic book. I'd love to see Zorro, the Shadow, some of these characters who used to be so popular back way, way, way back then, who were kind of the forerunners for a lot of the superheroes that we have. It'd be great to see if DC and Marvel keep dropping the ball on Batman and Superman and some of these characters. There are characters like the Phantom and Flash Gordon and stuff like that. I mean, I would love if we could get some new modern run like this of Zorro. I mean, you talk
Yeah,
about some of these characters who have been just sitting there waiting to be explored. And I think if you can get storytellers who come in and just tell fun stories like they're doing here, I think as
yeah.
audiences will eat it up. Let us know what you guys think below. Have you checked this comic out? Really, we wanted to just make sure we brought attention to it because we're both loving it. Madcave doing such a great job on this series. Please check it out if you haven't. I guarantee you'll enjoy it if you're a sci-fi adventure fan. But if you have, please let us know what you think below. As always, folks, we appreciate you watching. God bless you. Hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody.